Welcome to Pitch Perfect, a pitch workshop for libraries brought to you by the Entrepreneurship and Libraries Conference, also known as the ELC. The ELC hosts free conferences and workshops on how libraries support entrepreneurship in their communities and campuses. The ELC is for and by information professionals who support and believe in the power of inquiry, information, and to transform lives and support entrepreneurial endeavors. We would like to thank EBSCO and the American Library Association for sponsoring the ELC pitch competition. And now I'm going to pass it over to LaMonica Wiggins from University of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give a quick update. We are now accepting submissions for the third annual pitch competition of the Entrepreneurship and Libraries Conference. And the pitch competition is scheduled for May 4th from 3 to 5 via Zoom. The focus of the pitch competition is on how libraries can support local economic development, job hunters, workforce development, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and/or small businesses. And for 2023, the ELC is particularly interested in pitches that focus on local equity issues or marginalized populations and communities. The target audience for the pitch competition will be stakeholders in economic development, not librarians. Therefore, our 3 judges who will rank the top 5 submissions on the pitch day in May will be economic development professionals. So keep that in mind as your target audience for your pitch. Due to the support from our sponsors, we will be giving away $10,000, that's $10,000 total to the top 5 libraries in the competition. Our first place is $4,000, second place $2,500, third place $1,500, fourth and fifth place $500 apiece. And additionally, we'll have an Audience Choice Award, which will be $1,000 added to the winning library's prize. The 5 winners will also receive free peer mentoring as they develop their program. So that's a new add-on this year that we're really excited about. So as I said, submissions are now open. You can submit via the link that I am putting into the chat if you feel compelled after today's workshop to submit for the pitch competition. The schedule as of right now is March 24th is the deadline for submissions. So now through March 24th, you can submit submissions. April 3rd, the top 5 libraries will be notified and connected with the ELC pitch consultant, Jen Hensel, for free consulting. And again, May 4th is pitch day, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time via Zoom, and it is open to all. And you can check out our website for more details about the pitch competition, to view videos from previous competition submitters and such, and put that also in the chat. And that is all I have for an update.
Thank you, LaMonica. Hello, everyone. This is Steve Kramer, UNC Greensboro. I'm simply going to be listing, identifying quickly the planning team members who we can thank for the programming today, as well as for the other work involved in making this happen. So let me just go through the list real quick. So thank you to the 2023 pitch planning team, which includes Kelly Forkenbrock from North Liberty Library, Celine Guro-Brennan, University of Alberta, LaMonica, who we just heard from, LaMonica Wiggins, University of Pittsburgh, Maria Freed, Texas State Library, Jim Wilhelm, Ernst & Young, Orlando Duffus, University of Houston, Celia Ross, University of Michigan, Hadiza Saadu, Kansas City Public Library, Rashida Scott Blades, San Diego State University, Andrea Lewandowski, New Jersey State Library, Dr. Layli Saifi, University of Burgund, Teresa Pfeiffer, Corning Incorporated, Geeta Haley, Round Rock Public Library, Duncan Smith from EBSCO, one of our sponsors, he's not here today, sorry. Megan Janicki, one of our co-chairs, American Library Association, and you've already met Angel Truesdale, UNC Charlotte. And even though we have this very diverse international planning group team, officially the ELC is a service of Blink, Business Librarianship in North Carolina, a section of NCLA. That concludes just giving credit to where it's due. Back to Angel.
Nice. Thank you, Steve. So we do have a code of conduct with ELC. If you would like to read more, click on the link in the chat. I will just read 2 sentences from it. Each ELC participant has the right to learn, network, and socialize in an environment of mutual respect and professionalism, free from harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Creating such an environment is a shared responsibility of everyone involved in the ELC events. So please contact the ELC Pitch Competition 2023 coach chairs via Zoom chat or email if you believe you have been harassed or that a code of conduct violation exists. Our contact information is now in the chat. So if you have anything that you would like to report, let us know. All right, just a few Zoom housekeeping. During the speaker talks, please keep yourself muted. The co-host will mute attendees whose mics are contributing to background noise. And please keep your video off unless you would like to turn it on when asking a question verbally. Comments and questions are welcome in the chat box at any time. However, during the open discussions, please feel free to leave your mics and your videos on if you would like. All sessions except the concluding discussion will be recorded. If we are Zoom hacked for any reason, we will shut down the session and we will email you a new Zoom link immediately. Now, I would like to introduce our pitch consultant, Jen Hensel. So thank you, Jen Hensel of Ella Pitch, for serving as our pitch consultant and providing this introduction to the art of pitching. Jen is an old friend of the ELC in 2020 when we first did this. She was the assistant director of Launch Greensboro. She offered, without being asked, to provide free consulting for our pitch competition finalists. Jen is now the founder of Ella Pitch, in which she advises startups and design accelerators and specializes in pitch coaching. She now serves as our official pitch consultant. She will provide consulting for the 5 libraries chosen to compete on May 4th in the pitch competition. So please join me in welcoming Jen Hensel.
Hi, thank you so much, Angel. Thanks for having me, and Steve and the whole planning committee for bringing this together and making this happen today. I'm going to pull up my second screen and share it with you all some of my top tips and tricks around pitching. And this is specifically for you all, although I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs everywhere from the idea stage to Series A fundraising. I have taken a lot of the lessons from that kind of industry and applied them here for you all with a little bit of nuance and tweak to really give you all a strong foundation for your pitch, for the competition, so that you can walk in feeling really confident, as though you're representing your library and your community and your project to the best of your ability. And so that for my personal goal is that no one doesn't apply for this competition out of fear of public speaking, that you all just jump in, and hopefully this presentation that I give will help you feel that way. So we are going to talk about elevating your program and obviously, hopefully getting some funding for you, top tips, and then a general pitch structure that I would recommend for you during this presentation. And again, a lot of the stuff that I share will be applicable to other presentations, pitches, public speaking engagements you might be doing within the community around this program or others. So feel free to take the tips and tricks and kind of apply them around your world. So my very top tip, more than anything else, is around writing a script. So a lot of us as adults we'll walk into a meeting, a presentation, whatever that looks like, and we may have taken the time to put together a presentation deck, right? We may have taken the time to put down some bullet points about what we want to talk about, but a lot of us just wing it, right? Like we know what we're talking about. We live and breathe this every day. And so we're just going to go in and we're going to feel pretty good about just explaining this project to someone else, right? But the truth is that winging it is not advised. It's not going to be kind of a best practice for you in order to put yourself in the best possible scenario. So writing a script about what it is you want to say, getting really engaged and thoughtful about the impact that you want to have, and write all of that out And one of the reasons I talk a lot about writing the script is not just for the preparation purposes, that it really forces you to be proactive, right? Think about all of this stuff before you say it, but it's also so that you can get all of your thoughts out on paper and then you can read it back and edit it. When we speak off the cuff, we can't delete, rewind, whatever. What we say is what we say. But when we write it, you can always go back and change something. You can figure out how to make this sentence more impactful. You can figure out that adjective is a better one to use to get your point across. You can figure out how to be more succinct when it's in writing. And then you can take that writing piece and either memorize it as a script or practice it a lot to the point where it becomes the talking points versus the bullet points that you might have in your head. So no matter what, I hope all of you go home and write a script. My presentation today, this workshop, will help give you the building blocks for what needs to go in that script, okay? Another top tip, obviously, is practice. I know that this is, for the competition itself, this is going to be an hour of your day, of a very, very, very busy day, of a very, very busy month of May, of a very big, busy spring and year. But I do encourage you to take the time to practice this because, again, it's being recorded, it's being broadcast to librarians across the country. And even if you don't win the competition, we just want to make sure that you are putting your best self out there. So practice, practice, and then watch others. One of the things that I love is in the EntreLib, so Entrepreneurship Librarian Conference website, are all of the past winners, so the past pitches. I would really encourage you to take the time to go watch those and see how they were formulated and kind of the visual aspects of how those came together. Those were obviously the top, I think 5 or 6 per year for the last couple of years of many, many submissions from across the country. And so you're seeing kind of the best of the best, and it really will give you an idea of what it is that the audience, the judges, are really looking for when it comes to your presentations. So to start off with, when we think about scripting, when we think about preparing for your pitch, I want you to get really clear on what your goals are, right? So I'd like you to write down, I hope all of you have a little paper that you can jot down notes while we're in this workshop, but write down for yourself, why are you pitching? Why are you engaging in this manner? And it needs to be more than just about winning the money, because of course the money is the end goal, but only a few candidates are going to win that money. But if you go in with the intention of what are other ways that I can gain for my organization through this process, that can be an additional goal besides winning, right? And it's really important to think about how will you measure your success? Because if you only measure your success based on the singular goal of winning the money, you are going to set yourself up most likely for disappointment and disengagement from future opportunities. Where if you think about measuring your success in other ways, whether it's through collaboration or through putting together really great visuals or for taking the time to practice when normally you wing it, right? Those are other ways that you can measure your own success. And then the final goal that I ask that you to consider is, what does this particular audience need to know, right? And so the reason we have you think a lot about that is that in your very public facing, service facing part of your job, you're speaking to patrons, peers, potentially partners. It is not often that you're sitting in front of funders, and the thought process of what you want to communicate to them may be a little bit different. The way you talk to a patron and what they need to know maybe about a program may be very different than what a funder is interested in knowing about that particular program. So I encourage you, as we go through, jot down answers to some of these questions, okay? So then we think about when we're storytelling, which is what a pitch is. A pitch is not just answering 5 questions. A pitch is telling a story that is memorable and engaging. So we start with a really attention-grabbing opening line, okay? So we start with something that has emotion. We start by telling a story. We start by asking a question of the audience. This is particularly effective when we're at in-person conferences and you can say, everyone who XYZ, raise your hand, and you immediately engage audience, right? Doesn't work as well virtually, I will tell you that. You can describe a pain point or a specific situation. Oftentimes businesses, when they're pitching, are opening with the impetus for starting their business, or some start with the why statement. So really think about what would be interesting and engaging when I walk on stage, when I walk into this Zoom presentation. rather than just starting with, hi, my name is, and I'm from, what's another way that you could do that? Get to the point of your pitch and really engage the audience that is not as generic as you might normally do, especially if you were winging it, right? So think about the opening line or story. And then what you want to talk about is the problem that you're solving. That's the first thing that we really want to highlight for the listener is what is it that our project is aiming to do? So your project in your community is solving something, providing some kind of service that alters and improves the betterment of your community, right? So we think about when we're talking about a problem that we solve, we talk a lot about, is there history behind this problem that needs to be laid as groundwork first before the problem can be understood? So if you think about med tech devices, right, kind of in the entrepreneurship world, if you think about like the med tech industry, a lot of times you're going to need to explain a certain procedure, a certain disease, a certain condition, whatever it is, in order to bring the audience along with you that XYZ problem exists. So is there some kind of history that you need to share? History about your community, history about your patrons, history about previous services that were eliminated and you're bringing them back, whatever that looks like. If there's history or education that's required, make sure that you engage that part when you're highlighting the problem that you're solving. Okay, so jot down your problem that you solve. And do I need to explain it more, or is it obvious? And I don't need to explain it more. Okay. The next step that you're going to cover is what we call customer segments, but in your world is more likely users in terms of who are those patrons that are benefiting, who are the ones who are using the actual service, right? And what we want to do is provide some picture of what that persona looks like. Okay, so we want to describe the people that we're serving. We want to describe the situation they're in. We want to describe the pain points that they're experiencing, because that sets us up for showcasing our solution, right? Because of this problem that these people have, we're going to do this and it's going to be awesome, right? So we have to set all of those up almost formulaically so that the solution feels like a wonderful aha moment, and the brain feels like it gets its itch scratched of like, okay, you've been leading to this stuff, now tell me what you're going to do about it, and tell me how it's valuable to the people you're serving. What I will say is, for a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who are presenting in kind of grant pitch situations, they spend a lot of time here in solution land. It's where they get excited. It's where they get to be creative. It's where they are making an impact. And so just remind yourself that the other pieces that come before your big solution also matter. Don't forget them. Then you're going to move into spending some time validating your expertise and that of your team, right? So what is your background? Are you an academic librarian? Did you come from the private industry and you saw this? Did you come from, did you experience the problem and therefore you understand it deeply and that's the expertise that you bring, right? You have a specialized degree in some form of the solution. So what is your background as the primary service provider on this project? But then also, who's on your team? Are there other members of your library staff that are engaging in this work with you? Are there other partners in the community that are playing a key role in initiating this project, right? And so when we think about it in the entrepreneurship world and in investment world, teams are one of the critical factors that have an investor decide whether they're going to invest, right? It has much less to do with the solution that they're offering and much more to do with who are these people? What are they about? What are their experiences? How is this more than talk? How do I know that they're going to get this thing done that they say they're going to get done? So really uplift any kind of value that you feel that you or your team members bring as the ones who can follow through on the commitments you make in, kind of the pitch proposal. And then we further that along, right? Especially in your scenario, we're going to look at collaboration. So who are your partners in the community? Are you working with other entrepreneurship service organizations in your community? Are you working with other funding sources, right? Are you enhancing something that already exists with a community project and expanding it to your branch or something like that, right? How do you and your community partners complement each other so that the services at the end of the day are even better? And if you don't have collaborators on your project, I would encourage you to think through, as you draft what these projects might look like, to think about that. Think about who's in my community who could offer expertise to this project, who might be a partner who could do a better job marketing my project than me and my library might be able to, right? And so even as you build out what this project looks like, think about collaborators. If you don't have any at the table, think about that. Are there some strategic ones that would really add value? And then we want to talk about what we call traction or milestones. So what has been the timeline so far around this project, right? Did it start 2 years ago with discovering the problem, let's say during COVID? Did it start 6 months ago with research? What is that timeline? And what are the big milestones that you've accomplished so far, right? So it might be discovered the problem, did a little bit of research to see if there was any other solution in our community, brought together a couple collaborators, and now we're moving forward with this. So we want to showcase, are there any successes you've had to date, right? Have you won any awards in this area? Have you received other grant funding? Did you get approval from some committee? What are the successes? And if the program has been long-standing, this is especially helpful, right? If you're just enhancing a component of a program, what are the successes of that program? Is it really well recognized in your community? Have you received accolades or social media followings or some kinds of things around what is so successful and really incredible that you've already done? And then you definitely want to talk about, in very much specific way, the use of the funds if you were to receive them. So in my world, we call this the ask. What are you going to do with the investment, right? How exactly are you going to spend those funds to move the needle, to move the company forward, to achieve all of your future milestones? But tell the judges, right? Like, this is how I want to use the funds. If we win $5,000, we're going to use 2,500 of it for this, and 1,000 for that, and 500 for this. Because what it does is it shows the judges that you've thought about your project enough to know what a budget looks like for you. And it gives you the opportunity to get really excited about the impact it can have. And when we think about grants and winning money in competitions, we want to talk about the impact. So all of the pieces, all of the good juiciness of the program and the people you serve, what makes your community so incredible, those are all things that we want to highlight. But we don't want to lose, at the end of the day, leaving the judges with the impression that if you give me a check mark, it will impact these people in this way, and it's going to be meaningful. What I will add to that is, as someone who serves as a judge on these kinds of things, I'm always looking for organizations to show me what is their sustainability plan for this program beyond this one-time funding at this single funding source, right? So again, kind of in the entrepreneurship world, that would be something akin to a business model. How are you going to make money? How are you going to survive in the marketplace? So here, I want you to tell me about the use of funds, how you're going to use it within a budget, how it's going to impact the project overall, but also when we're done with this money and we have gone through this program, we plan to allot funding or fundraise or go to XYZ community member for continued funding so that we can have this go on year after year. Or it could be, this is a pilot project for us, and if we do it, then we get the go ahead from someone to do something. Or with these funds, we'll buy this equipment, which allows us to do this in perpetuity, right? Or software, or whatever it looks like. So use of funds has many, many variations that you want to kind of hit on when you're going through your particular pitch. So I'd like for you to, again, kind of jot down, what are 2 to 3 things that you could use assistance from the community for? One, obviously, is going to be money, but what are some other ways that the community who's listening to you, who may not be the judges to this competition, how might they be able to assist you in moving the project forward? Okay, so if you were to record this and share this on, let's say, your library's Facebook page or something like that, to really just show the way that you're engaged, the way you're being innovative within your industry. Tell yourself, give yourself a note of how else can I use this and ask my community for help in the future. And for that purpose, you're going to refer to your roadmap, which is kind of the future forecast of where you want this project to go. What are those big milestones that you plan to accomplish? Think about conversations that you have with mentors or project partners or experts. So let's say, for example, you may be able to use this money, right, to buy a certain piece of equipment or software. Okay. But then you're going to say, and in order to make this happen, we'll also be adding, time spent with this expert to help make sure that our staff is trained to use this equipment so that we continue to have this kind of impact. Right. So maybe one of the asks is we are looking for experts on this software or experts on this piece of equipment to help us do a great job because we're going to win this project. We're going to win this funding. We're going to do this thing and we need help along the way. So don't forget to ask for help outside of money. Okay. And then I think I'm really close to time. I think I did it, Angel and Steve. In years past, I have gone over and I'm trying so hard this year to be like, stay in the box.
Thank you, Jen. If there are any questions, please type them into the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. Any questions for Jen? Oh, any tips for folks with stage fright?
Yeah, definitely, because that's real. So the fear of public speaking is one of the top phobias in the world across demographics. And I just want to justify for whoever asked that question that it is absolutely real. It is a phobia. It is a physical fear and reaction that can put someone with true stage fright into a fight, flight, fawn mentality. So just if someone says they have stage fright, please acknowledge that that anxiety is real and true and isn't to be brushed off. So that's my foundation. And then I would say some of the ways that I have helped clients through that is by having them channel a role model that they have and almost move their mindset into some form of theatrical performance. So by dissociating the presence and the public speaking from self and channeling someone who I know is a great speaker and they're really confident and they're really tough and they're really all these things, use that as kind of a tool and a mechanism. And as you're writing your script, think about what embodying that kind of a role model would be. As you're practicing, engage with that, again, that kind of performance-based mindset. And it's really helpful. So my best example to prove that this is true is Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, right? It is very, very much a persona that you can pull out of yourself or draw energy from somewhere else in order to overcome some of that stage fright and put almost someone else on stage to do the thing, and then you can kind of walk back off. So that's one of the many tips that I have. I hope that that's helpful, is kind of channeling that. A couple other things I can say is I am a proponent of mental health, and I suggest if people require medication for specific anxieties that you acknowledge that and use that. And then the last thing that I would kind of say is, because again, this can be a broad spectrum question. If you are able to in any way logistically prepare for a presentation or public speaking engagement, do it. So if you can eliminate the number of questions you have in your head about what does the room look like? Where are the seats? Where's the stage? How many people are in the audience? Where am I going to sit? Am I going to have a microphone, or is it going to be a podium? Is it going to be a lapel mic? Am I going to have a screen? Am I not going to have a screen? Am I going to have a clicker? Right. So really getting into especially a physical space that you may be presenting in, and letting your brain and your body get really comfortable with that particular physical location can calm down a lot of the nerves. And so if you have the opportunity to go visit something or practice in a certain scenario, I encourage you to do that.
What great advice. I just wrote down all of that. We did have one more question. Could you talk more about the value of your team's reputation?
Oh, yeah. Yes. So the value of your team's reputation. So, and again, I've watched this conference for a couple years, and so I know kind of how this goes. Sometimes it's one person or two people, sometimes it's 5 on a team. And so whatever yours looks like, at the end of the day, 1 to 2 people tops will be pitching. Even if you have 5 people on your team, I always encourage that not all 5 people need to talk because it gets really confusing for the listener. Okay. So 1 to 2 people are talking, and their energy and their personality is what gets portrayed as that of the whole team and of the project. So the personal brand of the speaker comes across, and we want to be able to highlight some of the personal brands, expertise, value that people who aren't speaking can also bring to the table, right? So when we think about a diverse team that's well-rounded on a project like this, we want to be like, you know, we have so-and-so who does this, and we have so-and-so who comes from this department, so-and-so who did, you know, the budget, and letting the judges know that there are many minds working on this, not just one, and that there's a variety of perspectives and expertise that will allow it to be a successful project.
That's amazing, Jen. Do we have any last questions for Jen? All right. Thank you so much, Jen, for your wonderful insight on how to pitch. Our hope is that this will spark some inspiration for libraries for our pitch competition and in their everyday lives as professionals. Now I would like to introduce Electra Greer, who will be moderating the panel of our 2022 pitch winners.
So hi, everyone. Okay, Jen, now I have deer in the headlights because you said don't start with introducing myself. I'm going to go right to my why and my history.
Electra.
Very quickly, my name is Electra Greer, and I'm fortunate enough, I am a library director up in the mountains of Colorado in a very small library. And I'm going to tell you, get right to my pitch on why you should be involved in this fabulous experience of being the pitch competition is that, for me, the absolute value of this is wherever you are in your library career, if you are brand new and just have started, you know, the last month, or if you've been around for a long time and have experience, if you have passion and if you have a fresh idea, it is a level playing field. And that's what I love about it. Because, and many of you have been there as I have, it's not a cut and paste grant. It is not something where you've got this fresh idea, and then after all of the bureaucracy and all of the meetings by committee, all of a sudden you've got this banal thing that's unrecognizable that they're putting forward. If you've got a fresh idea and you've got something you're excited about, this is absolutely a project and a program and a pitch competition that you should be part of. So that's definitely my why. In just a moment, I'm going to introduce our panelists, and they're going to, I think, reinforce all of the things that I found. We were fortunate enough, our library, to be part of the inaugural pitch competition. And as Jen said, you know, whether you get the dollars and cents, the reason I'm still involved is because it has just been one of the most valuable experiences of my professional career. And that is not an exaggeration, because I've seen how applicable it has been to be able to reframe things now when I go into different situations, not only with community partners, but maybe if I'm speaking to a political representative. It really has enabled me to have a totally different approach. So I'm going to encourage all of you to super duper, if you're on this or you're going to watch the recorded version, you already have a great idea. I know you do. And you're like, I want to go for it. And it's just so refreshing and high energy and fun. And so I already know you have it in you, so you should go for it. And then I think one last thing I wanted to mention, but I guess I'll come back to it. Okay, so I'm going to now ask we have our panel. I think we're getting right into the panel. Is that right, Angel?
Yes.
So we're going to we have some questions, and I'm going to ask you to continue to put questions into the chat, and I'm going to have our 3 panelists introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about what their pitch project was from last year, and also what appealed to them and why they decided to go for this approach, this format to getting funding. So first of all, let's I just met Katie J virtually. But we'll start off with I've met everyone now virtually, but let's start off with Katie J, and I'm gonna mute myself, a blessing to all of us, and she's going to talk a little bit about her project, and then we're going to speak with Kate Davis, and we're going to speak with Mary Gilroy. So take it away.
Hi, how are you? My name is Katie J. We have a number of Katies at our library who work on our staff, so it's a little running joke that we have here. But yeah, we were in the pitch competition last year. We had a project called Makers Make Business. It was focused basically on young female entrepreneurs who are crafters in our community. Basically, we saw a couple of things happening in our community. We saw basically the pandemic happening and a lot of people losing their jobs and starting to kind of take their hobbies and get it out there in order to make some income. We also were seeing some teens in our everyday life who were just really amazingly talented and focusing on their hobbies. And whether it was intentional or not, we started to see them market themselves in social media. And so we thought, well, we have a great opportunity here to kind of take what we already have, which was an idea for a business resource center and some of our maker equipment, and kind of combine them and focus on getting those people into our library, in our space, and to use some of our equipment, but also to network with one another. So we were hoping to get some intergenerational things going on. So with that, we were able, with our prize money, to purchase some crafting equipment, which included a Cricut, some sewing machines, a laminator, even a mailing label printer. So that was pretty cool. And as of right now, we're doing really great with it. It's really catalyzed a lot of new ideas going into a really good direction. We're kind of evolving the whole entire thing. So it's been a really great experience. The whole thing was really great.
And they were one of the winners, and also Audience Choice Award. And it is so corny to say everyone's a winner, but I really believe in this competition they are. And I hope you will all remind everyone of that, because it's very true. Unlike when you send the grant out and you never hear back, or you hear back three years later, you're going to take this with you. Kate, I don't know if I saw you visually last time.
Hello.
Okay, everybody pause, because I want to do a sharing closet right now with your outfit. Okay. Kate Davis and John Butler, they're from Jersey City Free Public Library, and she'll tell you a little bit, and they were the first place winners last year, and she'll tell you a little bit about their project.
Yeah, so it's just me today. I'm Kate Davis. I'm the Assistant Director of the Jersey City Free Public Library in Jersey City, New Jersey. And the project that we presented was titled Uncut Gems, Promoting Minority, Immigrant, and Female Entrepreneurs in Jersey City. So with our project, we saw that 70% of the community near one of our branches, the Cunningham branch, they work with a high school diploma or less. They have the lowest median income in Jersey City, and with the cost of rent and commuting rising, they didn't have a lot of income left for education. So entrepreneurship was a really good option for them if they wanted to change their circumstances a little bit. And with the prize money, we were able to schedule programs with the Rising Tide Capital, which is a nonprofit organization that uses entrepreneurship to transform lives and communities. And the Rising Tide entrepreneurs are able to see a 95% increase in business sales within 2 years. So they have been an invaluable partner for us. And unfortunately, John has a lot more of the nitty-gritty details, but I know that it's been successful so far. And then the appeal was obviously accessible funding. We were able to, pitch and get money pretty quickly instead of waiting for years. So that was awesome. For me, I loved the team building. I think John was the one that initiated it, and he kind of pulled people throughout our system for their different strengths. And we were able to work together on a project that probably we wouldn't have otherwise. My background is not business. That was his focus, but I was happy to help, and I learned so much, and I'm grateful for that team building opportunity. And then also meeting personal goals of learning how to pitch and public speaking and all of these other aspects that you can apply anywhere in your life. And so all of those things were really great.
Thank you. We're going to come back to a few of those. I want to also introduce Mary. Please make sure I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. And I feel so guilty, but right now she put in the link and I already just bought some cream from their pitch project. So you've done a great job with yours. So Mary, I think Gilroy from Xavier University of Louisiana Library. She'll tell us a little bit, and she did put the link in so y'all can go shop while you talk.
It's Guillory, so you were close. But so at Xavier, our project name was Makers Dive In, and what we were hoping for was kind of like a little money pot to support student entrepreneurship and innovation in our library makerspace, which is the only one on campus. And what we ended up doing with that is we had an Entrepreneurship Institute student who majors in biology. She has formulated her own skincare line, a luxury skincare line for people of color. And we wanted to help her develop packaging for her products. So we figured this would be the most likely avenue for success of something that we could show to people later to be able to get more funding for the project, is we can take a student business that is already kind of up and running and help them improve on it in an area that they were having a problem with. So now as a biology student and an entrepreneur, she's developing skills in makerspace equipment, like using a laser cutter and learning about different things in the makerspace of how it might help to improve her business and packaging, make it more effective and efficient. And it's Roots by Rombi, ROMBI, if you want to go shop, rootsbyrombi.com.
Well, yeah, we're all Shark Tankers here, so I won't take it personally. We won't take it personally if you QVC on the side and do some shopping. So a question that I really, for our team, one of the most profound things that happened, and Jen is on the call and Jen knows, is when she really helped us refocus that the audience and the judges are not librarians, they are, business people and investors. So if all of you could take a moment to talk about how that helped you reframe things from, we're used to our library audience, we're used to, the public good, the social services, come on, this sells itself, come on, I work for Hugs. And going into actually talking, as Jen had mentioned, you really want to think about, the people that are investing or funding, where are they coming from with it? So if you all three could take a moment to share how, that approach helped you and has continued to help you, because at least for me, that has really been a profound shift. And as someone who's always had a public service background and how I approach things now.
I'll take yeah, definitely. I mean, the entire experience kind of helped us in a way where it was something different and something new in terms of pitching our ideas and trying to get some funding. It was an experience that was a little different. It wasn't as dry as just a normal grant opportunity. And because of that, I think it also interested not just us as the librarians who are facilitating the project, but also the people who are supporting us in terms of our administration and our board, because it was something new, something exciting, something different. So I think we really got a lot of buy-in based on just doing this project in itself.
Kate?
Well, I can confidently say that Jen was a huge resource and probably the reason we won, because I think originally we were trying to pull in too much advice and do too much. So she was really helpful on telling us what worked and what didn't work. And again, reminding us who our audience is. And I can't remember specifically if this was her, but it was something I learned through this about the importance of telling a story. We know our community, we know the numbers and all those things, but just without coloring that story behind it of making other people see the importance, it won't resonate as much because numbers are not as powerful as pictures and, real people that you see and you can see their progress. So that was all super helpful. And thank you. I think it almost didn't happen because there were too many Kates. I think she was thinking that I was another Kate. I was like, we haven't met you yet. And she was awesome. She snuck us in right before it and it all worked out. So use Jen.
Yeah, definitely use Jen.
Mary, what was some of your insights?
Yeah, from the pitch coach, I think the most helpful thing with Jen, since we had such a short time span between once we found out that we won and actually crafting our pitch, it was just, she was someone who was experienced and knew what we were doing, and then also helped me to just cut down things and get to the point. That was probably the most valuable thing, to have somebody that can just quickly go through your presentation with you and say, highlight this, get rid of that, talk more about this.
I can confidently say that I don't think we would have been a prize winner if we didn't have Jen as a coach, because she really did come in and she was so supportive in our ideas, and she really understood where we were trying to get at, but she like helped us craft the entire thing. She really gave us some direction. She really made our presentation so much more dynamic by giving us such great advice, even down to, the type of wording that we should use, the choice of language and things like that. So yeah, definitely use Jen. Was a huge gift.
Yeah, I think we have consensus, which never happens in this world on that one. I agree. She really, I remember, very bluntly got us out of our echo chamber. And what was refreshing again about Jen, and I don't have this too much in my library land, is she's just a straight shoot talker. And sometimes you just need someone to say, don't get all emotional and fuzzy on me. What's your point? And I'm like, oh, okay. And she was just so great, because I do think that we don't always necessarily have that sort of private sector perspective, energy when we are approaching things. So that was awesome. All right, I had a couple of other questions I'd like. And again, if you have questions, all of you who are listening and on this webinar, please put those in the chat box. So we already had that great question about getting past public speaking fear, but if any of you could touch on other aspects that maybe you were fearful of and how did you overcome that, that would be really great.
I could probably answer that. As far as fearfulness, what we were kind of intimidated by was probably the idea of a pitch and what that really meant. We didn't know a lot about it. We were used to approaching projects and getting funding by writing stuff down on a piece of paper and really, taking the time and being able to type out a paragraph. And it was a challenge to come across, to come across on screen in real time with a verbal presentation. So that was a bit, so I guess it goes hand in hand with the stage fright component of it, but also just the idea behind how do we present this? How do we sell our idea? How do we convey our passion for this project? So that was somewhat intimidating. However, after the coaching and things like that, we really did get a lot more confident in our project, hearing the reinforcement of, well, this is a great idea. I think it's really awesome. All that different stuff. It kind of helped us along in our project.
Yeah, I agree. I think presenting information and to a different audience was intimidating. As I said, I don't have a business background, so I was, a little nervous of how do I communicate in a business realm, but still keep it librarian-ish. And it did feel like a quick turnaround from, even though probably it wasn't, it felt quick from knowing we were going to be pitching to the pitch. So I felt a little nervous getting it all together, but it all comes together in the end. And I think, just practicing, I think I was nervous of what if the slide deck doesn't work and all that. So just practicing a lot. So and then if it doesn't work while you're practicing, you kind of have, okay, I'll do this if that happens. And so, yeah, I guess it was just a different audience was nerve-wracking, but practice helped.
Well, I was fearless. I wasn't really that worried about the pitch. Only thing is the short time frame. I had I think I had a couple of other presentations and projects going on at the same time. So just trying to get it done fast enough and where it made sense presenting it to an audience. That was the only thing I worried about.
Okay, I'm hiring you.
Oh, and of course, splitting up the money between student ideas, because that's hard to decide and say, hey, we're gonna have to go with this idea. This is how much money we have.
Well, and I know many of my colleagues and myself, I'm much more confident in writing than I am in speaking and that back and forth. So it was really good to be pushed out of that comfort zone. And especially because many of us, we do go to these contexts now where we have to elevator pitch or whatever we need to do with our stakeholders. And it's really good to get very comfortable with it. So something else I'd love if, and then I'm going to see a question here, but something else I'd love if you all could touch on, this at least was for sure our experience, and why I said that whether or not you actually get the dollars and cents award, I just have found like there's just been these reverberations, these waves of how much the visibility of participating helped, how, as some of you touched on, management perceive things differently. So if you could talk a little bit about the waves that you've seen since you've done the program and why it's continued to be really valuable, that would be great.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it before. I mean, we really did get a lot of kudos for going and doing our presentation. We had a lot of people who were tuned in and viewing us. And we really have taken our original idea, which, you know, was kind of just this little tiny morsel, and it really just expanded and evolved into a much larger project. We're now working on something called a Home Business Academy. It's where people will come in. We're networking with our SBDC, and they're collaborating with us. So we're doing a lot of really cool things with a lot of buy and a lot of support of our board and our administration. So it really kind of just started something rolling, and it's kind of snowballed into this really great thing. So we're really excited about it, actually.
And
Yeah,
I think go ahead.
you go.
For us, the visibility definitely was the most valuable thing. Since then, we already have like a strong relationship with our Entrepreneurship Institute, as well as our SBDC, our Small Business Association in New Orleans, that's actually located on campus. But this only kind of pushed those relationships further, and them wanting to work with us more and seeing that, you know, okay, you're even more serious about it. You're participating in competitions. So now they're making sure like, okay, let's send students over there. And instead of us just kind of casually talking about things and seeing how things go, now it's more pointed effort of, okay, come and give presentations here and talk here. We were already in the presentation way back then. I mentioned that we were just starting to work with an organization called Maker USA, which was helping to build a learning network around to help different organizations, mainly community colleges and HBCUs and things like that, to build up their maker spaces and focus on entrepreneurship more, as far as increasing staff skills so that we could have people to work there, but then also getting funding for those things. And we were actually offered a board position, and I think it's in large part because we were so visible in being in this competition.
Yeah, I agree. I think on a system level, we got all that. And I will add, on a personal level, I was getting ready. I wasn't assistant director when I did it. But after the experience, I used the skills that I learned. And I feel like that set me apart in the interview. And even just my participation and willingness to do something like this stood out. And then it's also helpful now that I'm in this position, when I'm meeting with, you know, the mayor of these other people, not to just go in and be like, well, we want to do this project to help people. We've got to go in with the statistics, the demographics, the timelines. So just on a personal level, even above helping the system, it's been really invaluable. And I definitely use those skills all the time now.
Thanks, Kate. What you just said, kind of one of the questions that was excellent was, how did an example of how you change your pitch from one for library stakeholders to funders. And I think what you've all said, and I know for myself, and I'll have to tell you, full disclosure, I became so obsessed with being a business librarian that I actually started a little small business on my own. I was like, this is fabulous. But I really switched over to, you know, knowing the language of business. Like, we don't recognize, it's very important to know what things like ROI means and what are your peers doing, and to really be able to talk about your usage numbers. And so it was, you know, now I can very confidently, and actually it's really fun because they're always shocked. I can now very confidently go into our downtown authority meetings or our commerce meetings and throw these numbers out. And I tell you, they're blown away, and it's so fun. And we are people that are all about language and communication. So for me, at least, that was how I really shifted, getting into those hard analytics and showing that, yeah, you know, we are information professors, we can do our research, and that's what's probably lasted with me the most. So Katie and Mary, other thoughts on that?
I would say probably, something similar. Basically, as we've all talked about, we didn't start this job as a business librarian. We didn't start this job with a business background. I certainly did. I was like English major, writing papers about the Bronte sisters. But, it kind of sparked, I think our idea, our little morsel of an idea with incorporating things with like makers. I'm kind of an artistic kind of person, not really a numbers kind of gal. It kind of inspired me to really focus on that component of our project, but then it also kind of rolled into, okay, well, we need to have the expertise, we need to have the language, we need to have the resources. So I was able to learn more about business, entrepreneurship, and being a person in the library who someone can come into and talk to about those things. And I can confidently feel like I do now have a background in business and business information. And also, with the pitch happening and us getting a positive feedback by getting awarded some money and getting such nice, response, verbally, we really, got a lot of support in terms of, okay, focus your time, focus your energy. I mean, librarians, we're wearing 400 hats, we're doing all sorts of things, but okay, yeah, take this and run with it. Take the time to get some training, get the time to learn the language, get the time to really, get yourself to become an expert in this direction. So I thought, that was really great, really helped.
So in my case, I am what Xavier has as a business librarian. We don't have like an official dedicated business only librarian, but we use the liaison system. So I'm the liaison for the business department. And I was kind of already used to, I guess, speaking that language, the statistics, the numbers, because of working with the business department. I know anytime I go to talk with them about an idea, that's what they want to know first thing. So this pitch, I guess, in a way, it came out directly how we needed it to be for the competition, and we made it specifically for the competition. So we didn't have to change that much.
There was a logistics question, and just to answer that, I believe there is a hard stop after the 5-minute mark. So any suggestions? I know we practiced a lot. You guys, I'm sure, can tell that Electra has a hard time stopping herself. So we had to really practice that. Any suggestions on what you all did for timing? And I also will throw in, since I'm thinking about it, definitely make sure you know the space that you're going to be doing the Zoom in. I've made that mistake a couple of times where I'm like right now I'm at work and I didn't realize we were going to have such a hectic day and I'm a little bit distracted. So really what Jen said, really know what the space is going to be and be comfortable in it, virtual or in person. But other suggestions on really getting the timing down?
Really listen to Jen, because she really helped us. Really, this was probably the biggest thing that we struggled with. We had this really verbose, presentation, and then we actually presented it to her, because she does let you do like a mock presentation to her. She will time it. I think we're like 8 minutes or 9 minutes, crazy. So she was able to kind of help us, pinpoint, you might not need to get into this. Your presentation, let your presentation speak for it's yourself there, and things like that. So really listen to Jen. She will really help you with this. This is something she really helped us with.
So there probably aren't a lot of people like me, but I tend to be a very straight to the point person and a person of few words. So my presentation, I believe, was a little short. And so what Jen helped with really was saying, hey, you really need to elaborate more here and explain what this is. So if you have that problem, she's also good with that.
Yeah, I think it's just practice and really figuring out what's important to highlight, because I feel like I'm like Electra in that I love to give all the little details, and I personally just go on tangents. So it's really like focus on what needs to be said and say it and then move on.
Right. And, Jen was just speaking with us today about the value of a script. And I'm one of those people that naively thought, scripted, that doesn't mean it's passionate and creative. And actually, that's not true. It's the exact opposite. The script is your guardrails to keep you a little bit so that you're sure that you get out what you need to say, because no matter what you think, except for maybe Mary, you're going to be a little nervous, which was also so fun, because I think in our work environment. Like we rarely have that like sense of like, oh my gosh, the competition is right now. And oh my gosh, we're going to get the feedback right now. And it's just like, it was a really fun feel to it. So yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate that also was important to me to realize how important scripting is.
And I want to add, before you go to the next question, what made me so fearless is that it wasn't necessarily my first pitch competition, because I have a background in tech. So I've done tech pitch competitions, but I felt was harder because I had to make like a technical object and present it. So that's why I was able to be more fearless in these.
Oh,
so
Mary, that's
it's the
really good
practice.
feedback. What were some differences? Because, you know, I'm sort of obsessed with Shark Tank and I'm like, thank God I don't have Shark Tank, you know, instead I've got Nancy Pearl, you know, as my judge or, you know, something like that. So how was it different for you? I'm really curious because you've been in more of that kind of different.
So I love Shark Tank also, but I would say
on Shark Tank?
more so, yes, it's awesome. But for the tech ones, it's generally your explanation will be more explaining the technical aspects of how your app or idea actually works, versus this was explaining, I guess, the business aspect of what you hope to do. Versus in the tech ones, sometimes you can get away with explaining a little bit of what you hope to do, but a lot of times you have to actually be explaining what you've done already.
I kept visualizing Jason Reynolds in the audience. I was like, okay, he's like the judge. He's like my library god. Anybody also have ideas that Jen mentioned? I like that idea because I know I get really excited about the solution, that creative part, and being able to talk about the benefit again, because you know, the audience is a little bit different and the judges are a little bit different. So does anybody have any thoughts on that? Like why making sure that you really articulate the benefit and not just the solution is important? They can sound one and the same, but they're not.
Right. They do sound very similar, you know, when you're thinking about that, because you think, you know, a benefit is a solution, right? So I think for us, like we kept in mind coming up with this plan, coming up with this project eventually is going to turn into some support from people, and that's going to allow us to kind of evolve our service and build on our service. So yeah, that's what I think.
I think for us, it might have been a little bit easier just because working with students, we always have to think to put them first. So it was a little bit easier to think of the benefit is that you're improving a student's life and their future versus, you know, here's our solution of it. We want to use this money to help them with some ideas, because it's kind of like we're knowing that we're helping them regardless. So this is just another way that we're going to help them improve their lives.
And I'm sorry, I had someone pop in. What was the question?
You just gave us the perfect example of why you want to make sure your space is secure and comfortable.
This is
not
true.
put a sign up on your door. No.
I didn't. I
Well, you
need
gave
one.
yourself an opportunity to be. We were just talking about when
private.
you want to look at that whole process of benefits versus the actual solution. And now also, and then after that, I think Angel will let me know. I think we just have a few more minutes. So if anybody else also just wants, Katie, Kate, Mary, things that you want to make sure that's a takeaway, a question I didn't ask, that would also be wonderful.
Yeah. Maybe this was already touched on, but I think it's important to think of making sure that the people that you're trying to support are getting that support. And for us, the vision of it changed a little bit when we were actually doing it. And so it's okay to be flexible as long as the people that you wanted to help you are, and at the end, helping.
And Jen's going to throw something in right now, because if we get her, we want to maximize her. Jen, you want to jump in for a second?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick because there's been some really interesting questions, especially coming in over the chat. But one of the things that I wanted to say is I hear my name mentioned a lot, and I love it because obviously it feels good to know that I'm of service to you all and helpful. But here's what I want you to take away from every time you hear, like, it was great to have Jen do X. Have someone in your world, be your pitch coach. And what I mean by that is like find an outsider outside your library, a community member, a patron who's really engaged, a business owner that you know from the chamber, like have someone listen to your pitch, because they'll give you feedback that's going to be very, very different than those of your peers or your students, right? And so even if it's not about me, obviously I do this for a living, but regardless, if you're giving a public presentation, please have someone else who likes you, but like doesn't love you, doesn't work for you, is not going to be a yes person, be able to engage and help support you, as long as you go into that with a coachable mindset.
I have to reiterate, because I know we have a big audience on here, and this is something I have grown into, if at all possible, get a no person. Because I'm actually a very big but get a no person, actually get someone that doesn't particularly like you, get your oil and vinegar. It has been hard for me throughout my career, but I've gotten so much better at it, and it is so valuable. So really, really, you know who they are. We all know who they are. So invite them in, and it's disarming in the first place to say, I know you think my ideas suck. Here we go. But that's a great tip, Jen. So any final thoughts before we hand it back to Angel?
My final thoughts.
Again, if anybody sort of wants to reiterate how participating impacted their library, you touched on it a little bit, but if anybody has some closing thoughts on that.
So I think for our library, participating, it really just, it's that visibility that now that people see that we're doing things and we're winning things, and more people want to get on the bandwagon and help and also bring ideas to us. They know more that we're open to it. And my last thought that I want to leave you guys with is to ask for help, because we are working on improving our YouTube channel and also helping students who are interested in improving their social media skills to market their businesses, but also pursue social media as a career or freelance work. And we are launching a paid podcast next week. So if you would like to subscribe to our channel to support and watch those podcasts, also subscribers help unlock features. So help us out with that. And I'll post the links. We're Xula Library, XULA Library on YouTube.
I think we all know why people voted for you. Any other thoughts? I will say that to the question that was in the chat, I ended up, now I never did a Chamber of Commerce, and I've been in some positions of being a director or a leadership of a team before. And now I enjoy it, and I feel very comfortable. And again, I'm someone that I kind of like to surprise people, so I know they have super low expectations. Here comes the librarian. And I just absolutely love when they're like, whoa. So for me, after this, it's really taken me professionally. I feel like much more empowered, and I've seen the ripples, like I said, honestly, the funding and things we've been able to get at the library for our patrons. So I'm a big fan of public-private coming together and bringing the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think in general, it built everyone's confidence. Like when we applied, we didn't think we'd get the top 5, and we certainly didn't think that we would get to win. So it was just like, wow, like we can do this. And it kind of, affects how you move in space afterwards. It's like, librarians are typically, glasses and meek and stuff. And kind of like Electra was saying, like now I can go into a room and I'm like, I can do this. And I think everyone that was involved felt that way. And like, even as a library system, everyone was so excited, like, wow, you won that? Wow, what can I try to do? And more people have been asking to apply for grants. So I think the confidence that you get from it, just try it.
And I think just like piggybacking on that with, when you first are thinking of, your idea or your existing service that you want to expand on, really have fun with it. This is a really fun kind of thing to participate in. So it really comes across when you are having fun and when you're thinking outside the box and you're really tweaking your idea for the pitch to something that you're really passionate about, because that really does come across. If you really believe in what you're talking about, obviously people are going to notice that. So I think that really does help. So definitely enjoy the experience, have fun in the moment, have fun in the process. And that's, really one of the winning components, I think, for us is we really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, everybody. Angel, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Thanks, everyone, so much for coming today. We will have a Q&A or just a nice discussion after this. So please stick around. I'm going to stop the recording and then we'll get into some questions amongst ourselves.